Okay, so in this unit there are certain key topics that is mentioned that we will see first, and then we will go into further details that is there. Okay, so in order to understand cyclone and its formation, we should understand how the movement of wind occurs, what is wind, and what happens at global phenomena, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let us discuss that, and then let's see how it started. Okay, so first question that we should understand in this regard is how air moves. Okay, okay, so wind is the movement of air caused by differences in air pressure. The greater the difference, the faster it moves. Okay, so this is one of the basic things that we should know, how wind behaves. Okay, so suppose if you have to, in fact we will also discuss about individual building units as we progress. How do we keep openings, okay, and how do we create pressures so that the movement of wind in and around the building is enhanced. Okay, so we have a lecture. I'll be discussing on that as well, specific to buildings, what we can do. Okay, so how but in general what you should remember is the wind moves because of the differences in pressure, okay, between the amongst the air particles. Okay, so that is one thing. And if you see the global phenomena, we are talking about why are we discussing this? This we have to relate this to cyclone. Okay, so we will discuss about cyclone, and also we will discuss about the specific wind characteristics. Okay, so if you see this, okay, differences in air pressure are caused by uneven heating of Earth's surface. Uneven heating produces pressure belts which occurs at 30-degree latitude. Okay, so what is this? What is this phenomena, and how does it impact the formation of the cyclone and the wind is what we will be discussing today. Okay, so I don't know, maybe I'll just keep it here. So what happens is, actually if you see the previous slide, we said wind is the movement of air caused by differences in pressure. Okay, the greater the difference, the faster it moves. Actually what happens is, we know this concept, right? The Earth surface, okay, we receive solar radiations, okay, from the sun. And if you see the diagram, if you see the curvature of the Earth surface, the amount of solar radiation that is hitting on or in and around the equator is almost perpendicular, right? So because since we have an inclined surface, or the spherical surface, the angle of inclination as we move away from the equator, either up or down, either north or south, the curvature, because of the curvature, the angle of incidence of solar radiation varies greatly. And we know that because of this, there is that's why we get in fact in the equators we get very high solar radiations, and higher temperatures can be observed here. And as we move further north up or south down, okay, there's a difference in temperature that we observe. Okay, so how does this phenomena of heating up of Earth's surface impact the movement of wind? Okay, we are talking about global wind, and then we will, in fact, the same concept is applied in local winds and land breezes as well. Okay, I will explain. I have put all these keywords in the slides. We will discuss as we move further. Okay, so what happens, this is the phenomena that you should keep in mind. As the surface of the earth gets heated up, okay, the air that is present here is also heated up, okay, and it loses its density, okay, and it raises up, okay. As it raises up, okay, because of the cold air that we see on the other side, okay, because of the cold air and also because of the rotation of the earth's surface, the air tends to move towards the northern equator. Some of the air is diverted and moves towards the northern pole, and some of the air is deflected towards the southern pole, okay. So this phenomena occurs at different latitudes, okay, which is actually called Hadley cell, okay. I'll explain the concept, but you remember this, the hard surface gets heated up, okay, and as a result the air that is there it raises up, okay, because it loses its moisture, and hot air has the tendency to raise up, okay. As it raises up, okay, at certain height, the air that at that height is relatively cooler than the air that is closer to the earth's surface, okay. Because of this coldness of this the air at the higher altitudes, okay, some of the air is deflected towards the north, and some of the air is deflected towards the south, okay. So this is very conceptual. We have just put one cycle, one cell. This is actually called one cell, but actually there are three cells that three such circulation happens within the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, okay. So I will see it as we progress. So what you should remember now is difference in air pressure are caused by uneven heating up of earth surfaces. Uneven heating produces pressure belts at 30-degree latitude, okay. What is this 30-degree latitude? I'll explain it to you in short while, okay. So what happens to the air that gets deflected? It actually goes to the cold regions, and we know that the cold air is dense. Naturally it has to fall down, okay. So because it accumulates the density because of the moisture that the air accumulates, and it has to fall down, okay. So this kind of a cycle occurs throughout the surface of the earth, okay. And the same concept is explained in at different scale as well, okay. And we know that barometric pressure is pressure represents the weight of the air above a location on the earth's surface. We use this parameter for understanding the to measuring to quantify the pressure of the air, okay. When the weight of the air over an area is greater than over adjacent area, it is termed as high pressure, okay. And when the weight of the air is lower, and it is termed as low pressure, okay. Same thing in a simpler manner, okay. As we receive the solar radiation, and as the surface the earth's surface gets heated up, okay, the air that is there, okay, it raises up. It raises because it loses its moisture, and the air becomes light, and it moves up, okay. And this again as it moves up, the air that is in the upper layer, okay, in the upper part of this the earth's surface, which is relatively cool as we compare with the surface here, okay. And as the air moves up, and then it takes the cold air, and the air again becomes denser, and then it falls down, okay. The same concept that I was trying to explain it here happens at the micro scale as well. Okay, and I said here there are uneven heating produces pressure belts which occur at 30-degree latitude. So what is that 30-degree latitude and how does it impact? As warm air rises at the equator and moves towards the pole, it cools. Okay, so this is what I was trying to explain. As it cools, some of the air sinks around 30-degree north and 30-degree south of the equator. At the poles, cold air sinks and moves towards the equator around 30-degree north, around 60-degree north and south of as we begin. I have a picture. Maybe if you are not able to figure it out, it can be understood from that image. Okay, so here I was explaining this is not one cell. Okay, this is just conceptually explaining what is the phenomena that if we have to understand this very simple concept at this scale, if we have to understand the same concept at Earth's surface level, this is what happens. Okay, but naturally, in reality, what happens is this raising up of air and sinking does not happen from equator to North Pole, but it occurs at a 30-degree latitudes. Okay, so 30-degree north of equator, 30-degree south of equator, or 60-degree north of equator or 60-degree south of equator. Okay, so let us see what is it, what is that I am talking about. And also I said one is the heating up of air because of the solar radiation that we receive, and also the how the air gets deflected. Okay, I said some of the air gets deflected to the north and some of the air gets deflected to the south. How does this deflection takes place is because of the movement of because of the rotation of the Earth's surface. Okay, this effect is actually called as Colliers effect, where the rotation of the Earth's surface it causes change in direction of the movement of the Earth, movement of the air. Okay, so rotation of Earth causes moving air and water to change its direction. Okay, similar phenomena occurs with the water as well. We are talking only about air movement. Okay, the curving of an object due to rotation of Earth's surface is one of the reasons associated with why this kind of phenomena occurs. Okay, so both the concept together. Okay, one is heating up of Earth's surface and the rotation of Earth's surface. Okay, which is actually technically called Coriolis effect. Okay, so because of this, the movement of Earth, movement of the air is determined. Okay, so if you see, actually, like I was saying, we have certain bands. Okay, this is the equator, and the some of the air. Okay, is some of the air raises up to the north, some of the air raises up and moves towards the south. Okay, and actually we'll see there is one band called intertropical convergence zone, or sometimes it is also called as the doldrum. Okay, so and we'll see what is it, what happens here. Okay, and similarly this at 30-degree and 60-degree north and south of the Earth's surface, certain phenomena occurs, and because of which the air is the global air is moved in certain specific direction, which leads to the wind directions like easterlies, the polar easterlies or westerlies, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let us see this confusing thing. in a very simple manner so that we all can understand and what is this what is that we are discussing about. Okay, in the process what we have to know is certain keywords. Okay, so that these keywords if you pick up, probably you will understand the overall concept that I am trying to explain here. Of that is, first one is global wind. The combination of pressure belt and the Coriolis effect cause global wind. Okay, and I was saying, as the surface of the earth gets heated up because of the solar radiation and also because of the rotation of the earth's surface. Okay, the wind is moved in certain direction. Okay, that's called global wind, and that's what we are trying to understand. And this global wind has got impact on different continents, and it can be understood in the form of tropical cyclones and other westerlies and easterlies and so on and so forth. This is one thing. So if I have to put that idea that I was saying here, as the warm air rises up at the equator and moves towards the poles, it cools. As it cools, some of the air sinks at around 30 degree north and south of the equator. So I was in the first image, I was trying to show that the hot air raises up, okay, and because of the deflection and because of this Coriolis effect, the movement of air is deflected and moves towards the North Pole, and as the cold air is absorbed by the wind, and because of its density it falls down. Okay, and this again continues as the cold air, okay, it has a tendency to move towards the hot regions, right? Okay, because of the pressure difference in pressure, right? So this cold air slips down towards the equator. Okay, so this is the actual cycle that happens, right? So at a conceptual level, but actually if you see the real phenomena, this cycle occurs at every 30 degree north and south of equator. Okay, so we have an equator line here, and at 30 degree there is one cycle, and at 60 degree there is one cycle, and of course in the north pole there is one cycle. Similar thing happens at the south of equator. At 30 degree there is one such cycle, there at 60 degree there is one cycle, and of course at the south pole similar thing happens. So hot air raises up, okay, and it moves towards the cold region because of the difference in pressure. Okay, at 30 degree north or 30 degree south of equator, okay, it takes the cold air density and it falls down. Okay, some of the air is again deflected upwards. Okay, the reverse cycle happens at 60 degree latitude. Okay, so this cycle this cycle happens at every 30, 60 and in the 90 degree south and north of equator. Okay, so this cycle is actually called Hadley cycle, which we are trying to understand. Okay, so maybe now probably you must have got the idea. Okay, this image is more self-explanatory. Okay, you can see the red lines are the hot air and the blue is the cold air. Okay, it raises up, the hot air raises up, some of it is deflected towards the north and some of it is deflected towards the south. Okay, and at 30 degree north and 30 degree south, Okay, the cold air sinks. Okay, and this one cycle is created. Okay, this one cell is created. Okay, similar such thing happens at the 60-degree and also at the polar ends, north and south. Okay, so as a result, there are certain specific kind of wind that is created. All this wind that we are talking is all under global wind. Okay, so each one has its own character. Okay, all those things are defined as global wind. If you see the overall type, the types of global wind, the first one is called doldrums, the second one is called trade winds, the third one is called prevailing westerlies, and polar easterlies. Okay, what is this? What are these global winds, and how do we understand it? Maybe we'll have a quick look at it, and then we will stop with that. Yeah. So kindly remember this concept again. Okay, equator, 30-degree north, 60-degree north, and polar. Similarly, 30-degree south, 60-degree south, and the south pole. Okay, so and each between this latitude, okay, each there is one specific phenomena that occurs. That movement of air is called as Hadley cell. Okay, and each the kind of wind that we encounter at each latitude has a specific name. Okay, so all those wind together is called global wind, but there are if we classify based on the kind of wind that we face at 30-degree, 60-degree north and south of equator, and also at the poles, they are classified as doldrums, trade winds, prevailing westerlies, and polar easterlies. What is doldrum? Located along the equator where no wind blows because the warm air raising air creates an area of low pressure. Okay, so if you probably this image is relatively yeah, I think this is better image. Let me erase all this. Yeah, so if you see this, because of the hot air raising up and some of it being deflected north and south, okay, a calm region is created along the equator. Okay, so this region of where very pleasant, this is supposed to be pleasant or no wind, actually no wind region, probably no wind region, in the sense we should not take that as absolutely no wind at all. It's not like that, but there is no what is it, there's no absorbed changes in the wind patterns at this level. Okay, so the first stage, the first kind of global wind that we can understand is doldrum, that occurs at the equator. Okay, because of the kind of phenomena that occurs here. Okay, heating up of surface and the air being because of the low pressure, the air being sucked up. Okay, and it's getting deflected. Okay, the second type of wind is called trade winds. Okay, winds that blow from 30-degree almost to the equator, called trade winds, because these are the best wind for sailing. Okay, so most of the trade routes, if you see, it happens between this 30-degree north and 30-degree south of equator. Okay, all those shipping containers and other ships that moves across the continent is primarily takes place between this 30-degree north and south of equator. Okay, so that's why the word is also given to us, trade winds. These are supposed to be, we are not going into details of each of the characteristics, but because we don't have to know all those, but at least some basic idea on how the wind pattern occurs at globally, and then how cyclones are formed. This will help in understanding how cyclones are formed and so on and so forth. Okay, so what I put is only some the initial keywords, so that we know that there are certain specific concepts associated on understanding global winds and so on and so forth. Okay, so trade wind is the second global wind that occurs between 30° north and south of equator, which is supposed to be calm, and it is not very very impactful. Okay, conducive for movement of passenger and goods in this road. Okay, that's why the word is also used as trade winds. Prevailing westerlies, okay, or prevailing easterlies, wind belts found between 30° and 60° latitude. Okay, flow towards the pole from the west to east. Okay, so we have seen the one part, okay, that is between the 30° north and 30° south of the equator. There are certain specific wind that occurs, okay, above 30 and 60° latitude. Okay, those are called prevailing winds. Okay, and probably these are the winds that causes cyclone in Indian subcontinent as well. Okay, so maybe when we discuss about the cyclone, we will see at what latitude these cyclones are formed and how it impacts the Indian subcontinent. Okay, this is the third type of wind. And the fourth type of wind, that is polar easterlies, that is above 60° north and south of equator. There is the wind, the kind of wind that is experienced is called polar easterly. Wind belts that extend from poles to 60° latitude, formed from cold sinking air moving from the poles, creating cold temperatures. Okay, these are some of the areas where you can find extreme cold regions across the globe. Okay, so to sum it up, we have the phenomena of doldrum that is occurring at the equator. Okay, because of the low pressure created. Why low pressure is created? Because of the heating up of the earth's surface perpendicular. Okay, you can see if we draw the circle and then draw tangent, we know that the point of contact is where we will receive large sum of direct solar radiation. Okay, so that takes place at the equator, and because of which the hot air tends to rise up. Okay, so the kind of wind that we will experience here is called doldrum. It's almost they say that no wind or zero wind zone. Okay, this is one thing. Second thing is trade winds. Okay, that occurs between 30° north and 30° south of equator, and these are conducive for movement of for trade. These are conducive for trade. Okay, and that's why the word trade wind is used for this, the kind of wind that is experienced here. And then we have the third type. Okay, these are called westerlies. That is taking place between 30 and 60° latitude, and polar easterlies above 60°. Okay, so in between we have some more thing called jet stream. The jet streams are narrow belt of high speed wind that blows in the upper troposphere and the lower stratosphere, that separates the warm and cold air. what happens here, if you see this diagram, there was one, yeah, no, yes, this diagram. Okay, so these are actually jet streams that because of this difference, okay, because of this difference, there's a kind of wind that blows in between. Okay, those are called the jet streams. That is also another phenomena that hits the Earth's surface. And there's something called harsh latitude, occurs about 30° north and south of equator, where the winds are very weak. Most of the desert on the Earth's surface is located along this latitude. Okay, these are some of the keywords that is associated with global wind that we can remember. Yeah, and all put together. Okay, so we have jet stream, polar jet streams, subtropical jet streams. Okay, this is at 30° and this is at 60°, and then we have doldrum and also also called intertropical convergence zones. Okay, so these are some of the things that determines how the global wind is formed, and it impacts the entire Earth mass. Okay, and wind is generated by air moving from high to low pressure, simply because a pressure gradient exists owing to the difference in air density. The stronger the pressure gradient, the stronger the wind. This is represented graphically on weather maps by isobars. Okay, maybe if you probably now you must have got some picture about how the wind movement occurs at global scale. Okay, and sometimes you must have seen the weather maps or some of the maps where you will see diagrams like this indicating wind pattern. Okay, so how do we understand it? For example, I think there's some description here as well. White lines, average sea pressure. White arrows, the surface wind flow patterns across the globe. Okay, these lines are actually called as isobars. Okay, we use the similar lines in defining in other aspects as well. Okay, and in reading wind as well, the word isobar is as well used. Okay, and this is just another indicative diagram on how you will get to see the wind pressures or air pressures across the globe. Okay, so this is at global scale. What about the local winds? We have talked about global wind, so that means that is at a large scale, that is at the Earth scale. Okay, so this phenomena occurs. The similar phenomena, same phenomena at a smaller scale occurs. Okay, those are called local winds. Okay, generally we have talked about the global winds. Okay, that moves from equator to north or south poles. Okay, so this is a large scale global winds. In the same way, local winds generally move shorter distances and can blow in any direction, caused by geographic features that produces temperature difference. Okay, so now if you understand the first concept, I said the movement of movement of wind occurs because of temperature difference. Okay, uneven temperature differences. Okay, one. Second, we also said that because of the Coriolis effect, because of the rotation of Earth's surface, the direction of wind is changed. Okay, so that is at a global scale. At a local scale also similar phenomena occurs. Okay, so the same physics. Okay, the hot air has the tendency to raise up, and then it will from high pressure to low pressure it will move. Okay, and it's also impacted by the geographic features. the earth surface. Similarly, here it may not be because of the rotational factor or Coriolis effect. Here because of the kind of surfaces that we have. Okay, for example, sea breeze. Sea breeze is also is one of the local winds that we can understand. What happens? High pressure is created over ocean during the day, and the low pressure over land due to uneven heating up of the surface. Air moves from ocean to land, creating a sea breeze. Okay, so this phenomena, that small cycle that takes place because of the differences in temperatures and in the surfaces that we have. Okay, so how do we, let's say, let us understand from what we basically know. Hot air has the tendency to raise up, right? The same thing I was trying to explain over there as well. Raising warm air, okay, and as it moves up, like I told you, it has the tendency, the air above is colder, okay, and then it sinks. It has to sink because it gathers the weight. It gathers the moisture and gathers the weight of the air and return current of cooling air. Okay, because of that, it has to sink down. And high pressure is normally created on the seaside because this is relatively cooler when we compare to the earth surface. Okay, this will get heated up very fast. The water will take time to heat up. Okay, so high pressure is created here and low pressure is created here, and because of this difference in pressure, this cycle takes place. Okay, so during relatively calm sunny day, the land warms up faster than sea. Okay, so the air above it becomes less dense than the air above the water here. Okay, so one of the local wind that we can understand is sea breeze. The second type of wind is called land breeze, the reverse of it. Okay, so low pressure occurs over the ocean during the night, and high pressure over the land due to uneven heating up of earth's surface. This causes wind to move from land to ocean. Okay, so the reverse thing happened here. Okay, high pressure was there here in the seaside or water side, and low pressure was there in the land side in the daytime. Okay, and in the night, okay, the surfaces gets cooled. Okay, the surfaces loses its heat. Okay, whereas the water, it will take time to release its heat. Okay, so the reverse phenomena occurs in the land side or during the night times. Okay, hot air rises up, and since the air that we the land surface, that will be relatively cool. Okay, in the night times, and the reverse cycle happens here. Okay, during relatively calm clear night, okay, the land cools down faster than sea, so the air above it becomes denser than the air above the water. Okay, and the reverse cycle happens here. Okay, so I think that's all I have to say for the day. I have one website, probably you all must be knowing, but you can, I'll just show you that.